checking with Guy.
No, it's good input. And if this motion passes, I'll reach out and ask if that invitation can also be extended to the rest of the board, increasing that participation. Director Lennox.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I think it's be totally appropriate to have yourself go. And reading the report card, I think part of it is that people can see the scores. It's very kind of user friendly to interpret what you're seeing, and so I think people can, that it is a good report card visually and sort of a quick glance. So I just wanted to point that out for people that want to know what we're talking about here with the primary care physicians. Yeah.
Sorry, the presentation was about 45 minutes long, and it was very well put together by Christine Kai. We all know she does pretty good work. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
That's good. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? I think Director Scott is just a little delayed.
Yeah, it's a little.
He's supposed to be the chair going to the meeting.
Okay, so that's all in favor. That's unanimous. Okay, on to number 8, the chair's report. I'll try and be relatively quick. On May the 15th, I attended the working group with Vancouver Coastal Health and the Qathet Regional Hospital Board members that are appointed to it. Some of the things to report back on have already, of course, come out. The triage renovation is expected to start in 2025. There was also some discussion related to how this kind of change can be inclusive of all ages, including small children and families, because it's kind of a tight spot. So they're looking at kind of expanding it and doing some reorientation. So that's hopefully going to be some good news. Another one is the parking changes for staff should be currently implemented and underway. VCH staff are being instructed to not use the visitor parking and instead use the upper parking lot and the other areas dedicated specifically to staff. And therefore it should hopefully open up the facility more to our visitors who are having some challenging to get in there to not just visit their loved ones, but also quite often look after their loved ones that are in the facility. Another big news, our local hospital is finally moving away from paper-based charting and entering into the digital age. It was always kind of funny when I'd work in the hospital on something and people would go like, is this the 1980s? Like what? Is it coming from another facility? So that's interesting. That's good news. And also the installation of a built-in suction vacuum system is on either underway or being proposed. And for those of you that don't know, it's not a vacuum system for vacuuming the floor. It's for like oral suction and things like that, which is actually quite important. And I have quite a bit of firsthand experience with that. I unfortunately missed the Vancouver Coastal Health Local Government Liaison meeting on May the 23rd, and I want to thank the members of the board that were able to attend and previously reported on their experiences at the QRD board meeting on the 28th of May. Looking at you, Director Elliott. Have had feedback from members of the public asking about regional hospital district issues, everything from housing, and I've also been having conversations with the chair of the Central Coast Regional Hospital District and the Sea to Sky Regional Hospital District, but we have not yet had a formal meeting since our last one, which I think was in January. But we are getting ready to have another one to discuss the MOU, which is coming up on our agenda because that was the reason for the last meeting, to figure out what's going on with the MOU. And I wish I could say that all the chairs have read it. I've definitely read it. But one of the responses I heard from one of the chairs was, well, we've been asking for it for 2 years, and if they have to wait a couple of weeks for my response, they can wait. I thought that was kind of humorous and worthwhile sharing. So yes, the MOU is top of mind for all three of the chairs for the hospital districts. And with that, that's the end of my report. Any questions? Seeing none, easy. Moving on to the consent agenda, which we have none. No resolutions from the consent agenda. Let's just go all the way down to reports, which is the proposed revised Vancouver Coastal Health Memorandum of Understanding. Before we get a motion on the floor, I was going to ask if we can have a round of questions from our members of the board.
Everybody in agreement.
Oh, it's everyone's in agreement. Thank you.
Agreement?
Are there any questions about this proposed MOU? Oh, really? Go ahead.
So The MAU was drafted by VCH.
Yes.
Has there been input from the chairs through your meeting process?
No, not on this MOU. This has not yet gone before the three chairs and myself. The proposed motion on the agenda, which is that the board accept, I would actually be more comfortable with a different motion where the members of the board provide their input and I can take that input to the other chairs where we have been discussing these issues. Because with the last discussion between the chairs, it was actually, I believe, Jenna Stoner, which took the spearheading position between the last MOU that was still in draft form and Vancouver Coastal Health. So as you might notice, this new proposed MOU, one of the first clauses is to actually rescind the old MOU. And that's where I don't really feel comfortable with kind of going that route until all three chairs have had a sit down chat. The floor is still yours if it's a similar line.
So if there's room for input still, and we are currently receiving requests for funding for the types of health facilities that we haven't kind of been in the bailiwick for before. Normally, we have an agreement around funding health facilities that includes a provincial share and a share from us. And I'm just curious if there's a way to add into the MOU something that it makes entering into those conversations with the province and VCH part of, like, you know, how do we do that? Is there a process for it? Is there a clause to be added, there a section to be added to be talking about new health facilities that are maybe not hospital specific? And I know that our long-term care and everything are not hospital specific, they're outside. But it seems like healthcare is adapting to modern ways and we need to talk about them. And I think the MOU could help in some way. I don't know what should be in the MOU, but I'm wondering if we shouldn't be proposing some wording that helps in that regard. That's my question.
No, that's really good input. And I think that's kind of more along the lines of where I was thinking, rather than going this route, we get the feedback from all the directors on what we want to see in the MOU. And in addition to that, there has been discussion with the three chairs around having a joint session on the Central Coast between Sea to Sky, Qathet Regional Hospital District, and Central Coast, Sunshine Coast Regional Hospital District, where we can all participate and say, like, what do all three parties want? Because there are some instances that we run into that, you know, Sea to Sky might have already done, and then we don't need to, you know, reinvent the wheel. So to answer your question, I think that's actually really good input regarding, you know, new sites that are looking for funding and where can we put that in the MOU to ensure that when, like right now we have Foundry, we have Miclac, but next year we might have another, and having something in the MOU which says, hey, this is how we move forward on it, so that way we're not having to do a ton of extra work. Good input. Director Lennox.
Thanks, Chair. First, I'd like to hear from the CAO on his thoughts around the comments around the current MOU being overly obligatory. And it looks, you know, I've seen the passages that were removed, sort of to the point that Director Elliott was talking about capital, you know, that's a big removal. I guess my question is, have the other authorities or boards been able to kind of make these, are you having those discussions? I appreciate you that you're actually preemptively getting ahead of this for us, like, but I think you understand what we're getting at. Is this a concerted effort, or are we going to have different policies for different boards? Like, I think, you know, I'm a little making sense.
Yeah, sorry.
Through the chair, that was exactly my question in my own mind.
Okay.
Because I did meet with the staff member who put this together, and we had a frank discussion about it. And you know, the directions were just to comment and get feedback.
Mm.
Well, race through my mind, they're gonna get lots of feedback from 3 different perspectives, 7, 8, or 9 times different, depending on the size of the RD and the RHD. So I don't know when the chairs are going to meet again, but if they're not meeting tomorrow, I think it might be worthwhile to take the chair's suggestion and maybe just take this home as homework. Come back to a future meeting with everybody's ideas and thoughts wrapped around it as to what they want to put in here, and then make a cumulative effort rather than trying to hodgepodge it together today and a week from now forget something.
Yeah, thank you for that, and that helps me at least. I find it interesting that you proposed, as you wrote, the CAO has proposed, is out of the act, whereas the extra verbiage around those commitments has actually been added to the MOU, and that's significant, right? So thanks, it's helped me a lot to understand what they're trying to tell us, what that we're responsible for versus more of those motherhood statements that are not as specific. Thanks.
I really do like the CIO's suggestion where the directors can take it home as homework and let me know. I don't think we have anything scheduled for tomorrow between the chairs, but I've kind of been poking them every day or two, going like, when are we doing this? So I would suspect sometime between now and the next 2 weeks, we should have a meeting between the chairs. So if we want to go that route, you can fill my email inbox with suggestions if we want to go that route, in which case we don't need a motion for the assembly on this item right now. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. I would like a motion to refer to staff to bring back to a future meeting, I think, if we're going to consider it later on.
Director Elliott.
So I think if it's gonna come back and we have homework to submit, staff could coordinate a deadline for our homework so that it gets into their stuff, so that it gets back on the right?
We're used to that.
Yeah, I think you're really on fault, John, or sorry.
Do we need to specify that in the motion when they need to have their homework submitted by?
I think they'll
Refer
just tell
to
us.
staff to
They'll figure it
elicit from board members and
So moved.
Wonderful.
the
Perfect.
future meeting.
Moved by Director Lennox, seconded by Director Elliott. Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? I think Director Scott's just delayed again. With that,
To resubmit my already put it in. Or-
he's got it. Okay, with that, the motion is carried unanimously. On to new business. Oh, sorry, bylaws. There is no bylaws. And then on to new business. Now, I've submitted 3 items based on some of the items that have been dealt with in previous meetings. And with the agreement of the assembly, I was going to ask if there was any questions on these 3 items before we get into vigorous debate. Director Elliott.
Just a little bit of background on Miclat. We didn't, the community forest has already provided a fair amount of funding to the Miclat project, and they're requiring additional funds. The community forest has not recommended them for funding at this time. They're kind of waiting to see if some other folks can step up, and they're kind of aware that it's coming before the qathet hospital district. So I think that the community forest and the city via the community forest is kind of at the end of what they can do for Miclat. I think some other funders need to step up, and it's a bit of an offload from the province anyway, in that they are funding treatment but not any places for the treatment to take place. And that's a bit of a tough sell, in my opinion, but at least here at the qathet hospital district, we have ways and means to try and cost share with the province. So I think this is a really great place for this project to be, and I'd like to support that one, and similarly Foundry.
Reading my mind.
I guess I don't have questions. Those were my comments.
Very creative questions. Director Lennox.
Madam Chair, I don't see any attachment here for me to refer to, and I, amount of X and Y, right? Like it's, I'm not really, I don't remember I know there was an ask in the past. Sorry, I'm, not exactly sure.
That's a very good question, and I was actually realizing that going through the agenda on our previous regional hospital district meeting agenda, we had the cost request from MICLAC, and I believe they were. Oh, I scrolled too far down. They are.
I didn't want to guess. I
don't remember. Just about $900,000 over budget, which I think so. They're looking for about just under $1 million to complete their project. Oh wait, sorry, that's in their variance, but highlighted in red on page 10 of 15 of their MICLAC request for funding, which was on the previous agenda, their budget shortfall is $550,000. And I very much also understand that it might be premature for us to like pick a number right now.
Yeah.
And it actually, the third motion or the last part of the third motion might actually be the first motion where we request a meeting with the Minister of Health, Josie Osborne of the UBCM convention to try and, wrangle out a deal of, I hate using that word now after everything going on, but to work out some kind of agreement between cost funding. That's why I didn't put down specific numbers.
I'm kind of worried the timing will be a problem from, sorry, I'm gonna.
Oh, I recognize Director Elliott.
So one of the issues is MICLAC is currently building and under construction and in the middle of their project. Shutting down and waiting for funds to come in will increase the expenses of what they're doing. So ideally, we could commit funding ahead of a lot of the other stuff, but not before we meet the criteria that we need to as far as having them designated as a health facility. And that it happens like before UBCM, because if you're waiting for UBCM and other people to converse with, that kind of puts the timing completely out of whack for MICLAC and their project. So I don't know if there's a way for us to commit funding and then fight for the partnering afterward or not. But if we are going to get all of those things sorted out before we commit funding, MICLAC will have fallen by the wayside and not finish their project.
I think the question for our CAO and our corporate officer might have an answer. Comes down to timing. As I understand, it must be a healthcare facility in order to receive funding. MICLAC does not currently have that designation. We can apply for that designation. It's what the working group informed me. Do we have any idea on how long that would actually take for the ministry to approve that designation? Because of course, we all want to do something quick. Government doesn't move fast. So question to the CAO, do we have any idea on how long it would take to even get them designated as a facility? Without keeping you here all summer.
Through the chair, no. But I can tell you through experience when trying to question the ministry about a designation, it took 9+ months.
Okay. So that's not a great option for MICLAC, but might be okay for the.
Yeah, thanks. Sort of related to the same question. And again, just to define it, this is the regional hospital board. Which bucket would any contribution from us come from? Question.
As I understand, and
we have our
staff can correct us, I think it comes from all
reserves, or sorry.
I think it comes from all taxpayers of the entire regional hospital district, but if we needed the money right now, we've already passed our budget, so it would come out of the reserves. I'm seeing nods from our CAO. So if we want to give them the money right now, got to take it from reserve.
Understand where the money is and how much we have. Right, sorry.
Do we have our chief financial officer around?
Thank you. No, Chair. We do have Manager of Financial Services, Miss Lily's here.
Hello, Miss.
Easy for you to.
Oh.
Apparently I can't talk. The floor is yours, and we have a question as to how much money do we actually have sitting in the reserve if we did want to provide funding for either the MICLAC or the Foundry?
Thank you. Through the chair, the budget 2025 is projecting that we would have a closing balance of 7,916,000 in the Section 20 reserve.
Does that answer your question?
It does very much so. Thank you.
Hey. Are there other questions around the table? Director Elliott.
Those same reserves would be covering any change requests coming from ZCH, right?
ECH, yes.
Yes, and we don't know what those are yet for this year. They usually come at the worst time.
Yeah. Now, going completely off memory. Oh, sorry. Celine, go ahead. I think you have some information for us. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Through the chair. That includes the contributions as part of that amount that I gave you. The budget is, so we had the opening balance of 5.9, but then the interest of about 181,000, contributions of 1.8 million roughly, and a little bit of other spending, leaving a projected balance of 7.9 roughly million.
Do we have an idea of how much money Vancouver Coastal Health wants from us for this year?
Thank you. Yes, through the chair, it is projected, like in the budget, it's 1.817 million.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but that means we still have roughly 6 million to potentially use.
Through the
Not
chair,
that we're gonna spend that.
with the contributions and the spending, the closing balance is projected to be still 7.9.
Oh, it includes that.
Oh, okay, yeah, includes that. So we could be really spending. No. We could be.
Thank you.
CEO?
Chair, I'd just like to ask Linda a quick question. Is that reserve fund that you're speaking to also the one that we are promoting as being part of the reserve funds for when we need to replace or repair existing infrastructure?
Yeah, Willingdon Creek
Willingdon Creek in particular, hospital next.
Thank you. Through the chair, the maintenance reserve for the building, the Willingdon Creek Village is separate, and it does have a projected closing balance as well of 2.996 million.
And I'm going to ask our CIO to clarify his question.
The chair, Celine, the 7.9 is that reserves for replacement of other infrastructure, meaning Willingdon Creek or the hospital. I'm not interested in maintenance. I'm interested in capital replacement.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
So through the chair, be careful what you've got, because we're putting this money together for future years for the big purchase or
is next, actually.
Yeah, so just to let everyone know that yes, we have 7.9, but if we decide to blow it all up, we gotta tax again next year and the year after to rebuild that, because we're gonna need it in the long term. But I guess to answer the question of what we need to do right now, the good news is no one's asking us for $7 million. Director Lennox.
Yeah, thanks. And I appreciate that's exactly why I asked this question, is because it sometimes appears like we have all this huge amount of money, but we don't when we think long term. And the point that I don't want to lose sight of is we keep getting cost share requests every year, and we've made a point of trying to stand our ground and saying can't keep doing that. So it's a bit of a hedge on that as well, but it's just the point I wanted to make about which bucket. So appreciate that.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Sorry, not for members of the public.
Not yet.
Alternate Director Joseph Scott, the floor is yours.
I have. Okay, this is a very quick one. Could you remind me what X is? Approximately.
Oh,
Yeah.
we have not decided on any amount. That's why we haven't, we don't have an actual motion on the floor. That was an amount that if anyone wanted to get creative at the time. However, at this time, there is no amount that has been put forward as either X or Y. We should buy him a headset. Does that answer your question? There is no number as X or Y at this time. Okay, Director Elliott. And then we're gonna start moving on to actually getting a motion on the floor, but after, so Director Southcott, go ahead, Elliott.
So, I guess it might be good to actually try some numbers out and see where the board is sitting as far as what they think. There seems to be a lot of unanswered questions as to whether we can get things done in a timely fashion or not. So those kind of worry me. But I think making some motions will help us move forward at least.
Just with regard to MCLAD, can the Regional Hospital Board commit any funds legitimately to MCLAD if it isn't clear that it's a health care facility? I didn't think so.
No.
So this would all be moot. Yeah. Until that question is.
So the first half of the second motion, even if we were to pass it, we couldn't actually give them the money until first motion, which is to designate a healthcare facility, goes through its long and arduous journey. CEO?
Through the chair, I'm just wondering what the intent of applying on their behalf is. Is it to like burn the candle at both ends and meet in the middle? Because MCLAD themselves are working on obtaining that designation.
That's good to know. At the working group meeting with Vancouver Coastal Health, they said that the regional hospital district can make these applications for facilities. And I was kind of curious going like, well, wouldn't the facilities make the application? And they were going, well, if you want to fund them, that we can do the application. And maybe if they're doing the application, we can do it too. And if we're meeting with the minister at UBCM, if that gets approved, then maybe we can try and push them over the finish line a little earlier than 9 months. Director Elliott.
Maybe what we could do is refer a little bit of research to staff about the healthcare facility status, what's currently being done. Foundry thinks they already are designated. We need to verify that. So I don't know what the motion is, but it's to refer it to staff to get us better answers around the healthcare facilities and whether it should be us or them, or whether some people are or aren't already.
Okay, well, here's a question for our staff. The first motion, which is that the board direct staff to apply to the Ministry of Health, the healthcare facilities. If we pass that motion, like say we had it before us and we passed it, but say the Foundry already is a healthcare facility, then we don't have to do anything, right? There's no reason for us to apply if they already are. I'm just curious about the delay, because if it's going to take 9 months from the time that we actually get the paperwork in, our next meeting is September as a hospital district? August. Yes.
Thanks, Chair. I just think that there's an application underway, which is good. We should support that application. And I think we can do that probably quicker than anything else through our staff. And so I think we should just support their application if they've done it. So that's kind of, I think that for me, the best action that we can take. And the other ones, that's the first step. So that's where I'm at.
So I think I'm hearing a motion from Director Lennox that the board supports the application from MICLAC. Is that correct?
Right. Yes, thank you. I move that the board support the application, the current application from MICLAC Society to be a healthcare facility.
The seconder. Director Southcott. Okay, motions on the floor. All I'll say is I love it. Director Elliott.
So our CAO talked about burning at both ends. Did somebody tell you they're already doing that? Then I like the motion.
And I'll ask one question. This motion is specific to the MICLAC. Would it also be advisable later on to have a similar motion for Foundry that we would support their application as well?
Oh, sorry. I thought it was in response to both, but
Let's ask the mover. Was it your intention to?
Well, sorry, Chair. It does say both, and I'm totally fine to support both if they both need it.
Hey, is that okay with the seconder
I'm okay
and the assembly?
with including it. I just think they're already a health facility because they have to meet health standards, which is not quite the same thing as a designated facility. And so there may need to be a little bit of research to figure out. We're probably not even the first hospital district to fund a Foundry. Right. And so with a little bit of research, we can probably get to the bottom of that pretty quickly. But yeah, I'm okay with the motion.
Okay. Any other discussion on the motion to support the applications or application to MICLAC and Foundry? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? None. That is carried unanimously. Okay. And then we've got item number 2 and 3, but they both have funding. And I'm going to actually ask the assembly if we want to refer first half of those 2 motions to staff. That way we can have the second motion, which is meeting with Minister Osborne. What's the thoughts of the assembly? Okay,
If we're going to refer them to staff, it might be to give an idea of what kind of numbers thinking, or do you think that's a bad idea or a good idea?
sorry, may I ask?
thinking about this, go ahead.
May I ask for some clarification? So the meeting with the Minister Osborne, would that be to to request designation as a health facility and then determine if joint funding was able to occur?
Yes, to both.
Perhaps that's a great first step, is to do the meeting with those goals. Schedule the meeting that way.
Perfect. Would someone like to make that motion?
Yes, so moved. Yep,
Okay,
seconded,
moved
whatever.
by Director Lennox, second by Director Elliott. Do you have that motion?
I do.
Wonderful. Okay, so the motion on the floor is that we request a meeting with the Honorable Josie Osborne, Minister of Health, at the 2025 UBCM Convention to discuss designation of healthcare facilities and cost sharing agreements. Love it. Anyone else want to hop in on this discussion? Being none, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? And any opposed? None. That is carried unanimously. And with those other 2 about cost sharing, we can just leave those for now. We don't need to move them or anything. And then after our meeting with the Honorable Josie Osborne, we can revisit those items. With that, Corporate Officer, that's going to move on to the end of the meeting.
Oh, I just wanted to check with Director Lennox if he was going to provide a notice of motion.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for helping the chair remind me.
The next item under new business is a proposed notice of motion.
And hopefully I get the intent right here that the regional hospital district requires a staff report on the definitions of a nuisance within the current lease agreement at 4910 Joyce Avenue and options to ensure compliance from the tenant. I can type that up if you like.
That notice of motion has been received, and our next meeting is August.
At the end of August, the last 27th or 28th, sorry.
Yeah.
I did not have it open here.
I think it's the 27th. or
already.
26th, I
The
think.
26th.
And then when that
Is that
notice of
Area
motion
B or
comes
is that-
forward, we would
Is
have,
that Area B? Is it the 27th is an area?
Thank you, Chair. It's the 27th that will be
On tour.
on the road. Yes.
Okay, so that is a notice of motion for August the 26th, I presume. And with that, we are moving on.
I have a question.
What?
When the notice of motion comes forward, is that the part where we just get notice and we don't talk about it yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct? Or I jumped into the corporate office.
Or is that the part we're doing right now?
Yeah.
So section 4.38 of the procedure bylaw under new business indicates that items of new business which are not on the agenda and are of a complex nature or that may affect existing board bylaws or policies shall be introduced as a notice of motion for placement on an agenda for a future meeting. So I believe that is when we will clarify the intent of this, or we can consider that as an item of business in August.
Okay, so some of the questions about how we should probably proceed, you would have some advice for us at that time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's the notice of motion. We're receiving it. But we don't want to spend another 3 hours debating it today. We can do that now. Okay, now item number 15, question period. Mr. Galinsky.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the opportunity to pose a question. With regard to item 12.1, which was the Vancouver Coastal Health Memorandum of Understanding revisions, there was a motion associated with that and I did not catch it. I'm hoping the corporate officer can advise me what it is or email me a copy of that at her convenience.
Corporate officer.
Yes, thank you. So this was to refer the report back to staff with direction to solicit feedback from board members and provide them with a timeline for inclusion on a future agenda, which will occur in August.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, our corporate officer will also send you a copy of that via email.
That would be perfect. Sometimes her audio isn't too discernible, so it would be great to have the hard copy.
Wonderful.
That was my question, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Galinsky. Any other questions from members of the public?
It's your chance.
I was just going to add the comment that I'm glad you're planning for the future for the seniors and the Evergreen Care Unit. And I know I'm a member of the Seniors Advocate Group.
Is there a question?
The question is, I hope you're planning not only for its replacement, but a third building.
Don't get me started. Director Elliott, do you have a question?
That's a good question.
Well, I wanted to try to respond to the question that Mark had. And when I've been attending the meeting,
Yes, we are
With all the
planning for
people?
long term. Yeah.
they intend to start the master planning for hospital and facilities. They said after Christmas, maybe starting January.
Yeah, there's a plan for, they changed it from master plan to community.
And that's where that would come into the plan.
But yes, as soon as the Wellington Creek was finished, it was immediately full and there was a wait list. So yeah, there's a huge demand. Any other questions?
On it.
Seeing none, we have no in-camera session. We have no rise and report from in-camera session. And as we have completely exhausted our agenda, we are now adjourned. Thank you for coming.
Recording stopped.
There, now the meeting's not watching.
I actually thought you guys were going to reconvene on the hospital